Hello, welcome to the BirchStreet Advanced Buyer Training. Today we're going to cover topics that include editing a purchase order before we send it to a supplier, order guide management, suppliers on the fly, how do we add them, how do we maintain them. We'll look at your budget, as well as some other tips and tricks to help you in the system. As we get logged in, we'll go ahead and click the BirchStreet eProcurement login. Now, the things that I show you today may look a little bit different at your hotel. It's okay, it's just everybody operates and has a little bit different functionality in the system. So if you have questions, please reach out to your Hilton Supply Management Procurement Application Manager, who you probably know from your trainings. So let's get started by going to the Purchase Order tab. The first thing we're going to do is look at how to edit a purchase order before we send it to the supplier. So let's use this Virginia Meats meat order. So we'll check beside the purchase order to the left, and we'll use the Print View Edit button at the top. From here, it shows us the purchase order and 3 items that are on the purchase order. Notice that each one is charged to the same GL account, but we can change that so that one purchase order can affect multiple budgets. So let's go ahead and hit the Edit Line button to the right, and we can scroll down to the bottom. Now notice that most of the items here you are able to edit. This is a supplier on the fly. If this is an adopted supplier, most of the items here would be grayed out as it's the extension and original price. This is so that only the suppliers can update their own pricing and information. Now, when you are able to edit it, that is because you or someone else at your property has uploaded this information to a supplier on the fly. We'll get to that in a moment though. So if we scroll down, we can look at department and GL account. Department is 60, GL account is here. This corresponds to the kitchen and food cost. So if we use the magnifying glass here, we can look up the correct or a different department and charge it to maybe the coffee shop. Then you'll notice that we have a yellow flag saying this GL account does not appear in the coffee shop. So we can use the magnifying glass once again to select the correct department, a correct GL account. So food cost here. The yellow flag has gone away, so now we can save the item at the top. Once the item is saved on the purchase order, when you scroll down, you will see that it is now has a different GL account. So let's go ahead and do that one more time. From here, you can see that we have the ribeye, and we can scroll down, and it's still charged to the kitchen and food cost. So if you know that you want to charge it to property operations, and you happen to know the code, you can just change it right here in the field. But we don't know the GL account, so we can look it up. We can just charge it to team member meals, perfect, and then we can click Save. Our purchase order has been charged to 3 different GL accounts and departments. So if we close the Print View Edit version of this purchase order, which we were here, and we go to the Print with Details, it'll give us a few more details about the purchase order. So when we scroll to the bottom, you can see that we'll have the budget impact screen. So you can see everything here is August 2016, department, GL account, the budgeted amount, the current balance of each budget, if there's other purchase orders that are pending approval or waiting to be approved, the dollar value will appear here, and then you have the dollar value of the 3 line items above in this column for this PO. Assuming that everything in approval pending and this PO get approved and received, this is your theoretical ending balance. So it helps you make quick decisions on whether or not you can charge to an account or if you should wait for next month. So if we scroll back up to the top, we can go ahead and hit Close. For our next example, let's look at this purchase order for apples from Excellent Hoteliers. So if we hit the Print View Edit button, we can see that everything has been charged to food costs again, so the 60, 180, 00. So let's go ahead and change one of these. Now this is a catalog supplier, so the supplier has uploaded the pricing and the information about each of these items. So if you notice, much more of the information here is grayed out. We can obviously change our order quantity because that is for us to decide and not the supplier. And then we can scroll down and see we can also change the department GL account. Now, according to your region in the world, category ID may or may not be required, as well as commodity. If you need to change those per item, you can do so here. So we can select the magnifying glass for category ID, and for example purposes, we'll just charge this to grocery. Same with commodity, we can use the lookup, and we can select test for today. But your property, if commodity is required, will have many more options. So once again, we can change the department and GL account. So let's go ahead and change this to 73 for property operations, and we can charge this to another GL account as well. Excellent. Alright, we can save this item and the screen will refresh again. So now we've changed this one item. I think you've got the hang of this by now. So let's go ahead and close this and move to our next topic. Let's look at an order guide. So order guides are our favorites list. You can have as many as you want, and you can operate them as how you want. You can put different things from different suppliers. You can do them by days of the week. You can do them by supplier. You can do them by commodity. However you want to do your order guides. So let's look at maybe the AAA donuts. You can see here, this has got a supplier on the fly, Brian's Bakery. This also has excellent hoteliers. So from here you could just start placing your order, but you know how to create a purchase order. What happens if a supplier on the fly's pricing changes and you need to update the pricing? It's very simple. We click on next to the item and we can click edit item. Here you can, once again, since this is a supplier on the fly, we can edit almost all of the information. So order price is now currently at 75, maybe they went up to 85 cents. If you have different things that you need to edit, so maybe the description, donut holes, chocolate, maybe your supplier has 2 types of donut holes with chocolate, and you can say with sprinkles. You can change the description, maybe they want to change the item number. Any of the information in black you can change. So from here we can click save, and it's been saved. The order guide will refresh and you can now see the price is 85 cents. So for suppliers on the fly, remember, the supplier doesn't upload anything for you. The supplier on the fly, you must maintain the pricing. So that's why it's important to review your pricing before placing an order. Also, you can default GL accounts, which you can see that some of the GL accounts have been defaulted already. If you'd like to add a GL account to one item, you can check beside it and click Add GL Account. This is a very simple screen where you can add your department, if you know it, or you can use the lookup and click Submit. You'll notice the screen refreshes, and there it is. If you want to do a bulk change, maybe you see that these items are all coded incorrectly, you can actually click All and do a bulk change. This way, you can actually change everything all at once. So let's charge this to a different GL account, and we'll charge it to team member meals and click Submit. Now notice everything has been changed from the 180 account to the 250 account. So from here, if you want to pre-code every line item to be a different department and GL account combination, you can do that. So if we were to create, say we'll take these two and change the GL account. Let's see, we can charge this to a different department real quick. Put these items for the coffee shop. There we go. So now once we create a purchase order using this order guide, these line items are already pre-coded to go to a different department GL account. We click All, and we can click Create PO. But you must put in a quantity. There we go. We can create the PO real quick. Now you've already been exposed to creating a PO. So it's pretty simple. Subject line, delivery date, remember your shortcuts, so I need it in 2 days, so +2. Purchase type, I'm going to assume that this is going to be a food. And remember, according to where you are in the world, purchase type may drive your approvals. If you're in the United States, department and GL will probably drive your approvals. But every property is different, so please contact your hotel administrator if you have questions about the approval workflow. Now notice I'm charging this entire purchase order to rooms and team member meals. So when we click OK to generate this purchase order, we'll take a quick look at it. Now notice we had 2 suppliers, so we've created 2 purchase orders, and we can click Print with Details. So here I charged everything on the header to rooms, but notice that everything has actually been charged to the correct GL account that was saved within the order guide. Now, some days you may need to override this default information, and instead of clearing it out every time, you can create the purchase order. But when the header update screen, I'm going to go to the header update button, opens, there is a button called Reset Department GL Account. So maybe we did want to charge this to the rooms division. All you have to do is click this button, and it will reset all of the departments and GL accounts on the entire purchase order. Now if we click Print with Details, you can see we've reset all of the departments and GL accounts to the one in the header. This helps if you have a large order guide. You don't have to recode everything just for one order. All you have to do is click the one checkbox and it'll reset it for you. Alright, so you probably want to learn how to create an order guide by this point, because you've seen all of the different ones we have, but now you want one for yourself. So let's go ahead and create an order guide. There's a simple button called Create OG. We can click on it, and you can name it whatever you like. Dog supplies. Now notice I just typed in a straight name. There's no extra symbols or dashes or dots. So this will be a private order guide. So only my user ID, when I log in, will see this order guide. But maybe I need some other people at the hotel to be able to view it and order from it. All we have to do is add an asterisk, and this will share it amongst everybody at the hotel. They cannot delete my order guide, they cannot edit my order guide, but they can view it and they can use that to create a purchase order. So let's go ahead and click OK. It will process, and it will take us straight to our new order guide. So we're now in dog supplies. What we've built is an empty folder to hold items. So let's see if we have any dog suppliers. So let's remember how we search for suppliers. So we can go to My Suppliers and search dog. Nope, it doesn't really look like we have any suppliers for dog supplies. So maybe we have a local supplier that we want to add. So let's add a supplier on the fly. The practice for creating new supplier on the fly and non-catalog items is different by region, and those regions that use RFQ functionality within BirchStreet should refer to the RFQ training session. Now, if you do not see this Add New Supplier button, there's 2 ways to add a supplier on the fly. We'll go through both options right now. So let's go ahead and click Add New Supplier, and we have to type in their fax number. Now, if they don't have a fax number, make one up for a little bit. We have to make it unique. It can't be all ones, but you can just make up a number and click search. If you have an actual fax number, use that. It'll validate it to make sure that it's not already in the system and you're not adding a duplicate. But in this case, the dog supplier doesn't have any. So what we can do is we can change the transmission method. And the transmission method is how BirchStreet will communicate a purchase order to the supplier. I want to email it to the supplier. So let's go ahead and add the supplier. Alright, so we now have our new supplier information added. We've satisfied all of the blue boxes with white arrows, which denote a required field. So if you notice here, you can see it's required, so we have to make sure that those are all filled. So now that we've filled those in, we can click Save. This will automatically create our supplier, and they're ready to be used. Now, if you do not have this button, you must request a supplier at your property. So if we unhide the menu at the top, we can go to Procurement and Supplier Request Form. It is the exact same process with one extra step. So here we can select transmission method is email, and we can fill out this form again. Now that we have the information filled in, you can scroll down, and according to who you are and where you are in the world, you may have additional information that's required. If you have a different city, state, and zip code for mailing products in your country or region, make sure you select your country before you start entering your city, state, and zip, because it will require different items. From here, once this form is filled out, you can save it, but you're not done. So saving only saved your spot. So if you click save, I forgot the phone number. There we go. We can save it, and it'll only save a record to the left-hand side of the screen. But you're not done. You have not finished requesting a supplier. So you'd have to reload this record by clicking on it over here, and you must click Submit. Submit will send this for approval, and according to where you are, it can take a day, it can take 5 minutes, according to the different levels of approval to add a supplier in your region. Alright, but once it's done, if you have the notifications turned on in your My Settings screen, you'll get a notification, and you're ready to use the supplier. So from here, let's go ahead and use Snoopy's Dog Supplies. We can hit the Create Items button, and we can start to add all of the information that we need to order from Snoopy's Dog Supplies. Now, if Snoopy's Dog Supplies has a catalog or a product sheet that has item numbers, please use the item numbers from the supplier themselves. In this case, Snoopy Dog Supplies does not, so I like to make a unique number per item, so that way when we do reporting later, you can see the different items separately in the reports. Because if you use item number 1 for every single item, the reports tend to get jumbled up a little bit. So I like to use the initials, Snoopy's Dog Supplies, and maybe a 3-digit number. From here, we can add a product name, and maybe a commodity. Now, according to where you are in the world, commodity is required as well as category. In this demo, they are not required, but it functions the same. You can use a lookup. Once again, this is our test environment, so we can just use test. We can add an order quantity, so I need maybe 25 pounds. If you know pounds is LBS, you can just type that in. If you think you know it and you type in the wrong thing, it will give you a little warning. But you can always use the lookup and find your unit of measure. So we have pounds right here, and it will fill it in for us. For pack size, maybe it's one pounder. Maybe if it was a 25-pound bag, maybe it's one 25-pound bag. It just needs the slash in there. If it's maybe 6 5-pound bags. However you want to do it. This is a great descriptor so that if somebody else is ordering from your order guide, they know exactly the product they're getting. But in this case, it's just one pounder because we order it by the pound. Price, you can do this by the unit of measure. So since it's by the pound, we'll put in the per pound price, and maybe it's $1.50. The extension will calculate automatically, and then we can select a category as well. Let's use the lookup, and don't think we're going to have a dog food, so we'll just go ahead and charge this to maybe the bakery. Okay, so let's go ahead and add a few more items. Alright, now that I've added a few more items, we can go ahead and add these to our order guide. So from here, we notice all 3 of our items are checked. All we have to do is click Add to Order Guide. Now, the first time you create an order guide, you will only see your one single order guide in the list. You can only add to order guides that you have access to. So from here, we can actually look for dog supplies, and here it is, and click Select. Click OK. And now we can switch back to our order guide and see that all of our Snoopy's dog supplies have been added to our order guide. So you can see here we have pack size, we have our unit of measure, your order quantity, your price, your extension, the categories, commodities, and all of this can be changed. Since we add all of this to the system, at any time you can come in, click Edit Item, and change what you need to change. We can even add the GL accounts as we've shown earlier. Next, maybe we want to change the name of this order guide. Maybe we've outgrown just dog supplies and maybe we need to name it pet supplies. So we have a great feature. It just does rename order guide. So we click rename order guide and we can rename this dog supplies to pet supplies. Maybe you also want to make it private. You can remove the asterisk if you like, but I'm going to keep it for now. Once we've renamed it, it's just that simple. It's already renamed pet supplies. If you want to delete an order guide, all you have to do is click the delete OG button and it will delete this entire order. The next thing we're going to cover is a little bit more advanced. It's going to be importing and exporting items into an order guide. So let's go ahead and export a template. So we can click the export template button and I'm going to go ahead and say open, and this is going to open a template in Microsoft Excel. So this is the template that we fill out if we want to import quite a few items at once into BirchStreet. So this is a CSV file. So what we'll need to do is to unjumble the top header 3 rows. So if we click on this little square here, we can then separate out the rows a little bit. And everything here is labeled and marked with what is required and what is optional. So supplier SKU will be required. So Snoopy's dog supplies, and we'll start with 004 again. Order quantity is optional. Unit of measure is required, but this must be the BirchStreet unit of measure. So we can do case. The unit price, it says optional, but you want to order at the right price, so we'll go ahead and add it. Just product description. Sort order, we'll come back to sort order. There's a minimum quantity. If there's a minimum, this is for a par, and you have a maximum quantity as well, so we don't really have a par on cat beds, so we'll skip that. If you want to add a department and GL account, you can go ahead and add that in the template. You can do target price, which will show target price in a little bit. Items per case, so we'll leave target price, we'll say 23 for now. Items per case, there'll be one item. Pack size, it's just one. If it's tax exempt, and a little bit more information out to the end. So you don't really have to worry about this. It's always best to do one supplier at a time. So doing a supplier company ID and the supplier fax number, you don't really have to worry about those 2 fields because it'll ask us as we import those. Commodity is always great if it's required at your property. Then we also have tax codes. If you're using tax codes, you can add those here. Category ID, and if you have a VAT treatment type. So each of these, everybody will use this a little bit different. Notice that all of these are optional in this marketplace. According to where you are in the world, it may be required, but you can add those codes there. But we've got the basic information. We've got the price, the description, who we're buying it from, and the item number, and the unit of measure. So let me go ahead and add a few more items, and I'll be right back. Alright, so we've added a few more items, and we're ready to save this and upload it. So notice I've added all of our supplier SKUs, our units of measure, our price, our item description. I've also added target price for an example here in a moment. So let's go ahead and save this. So we'll hit File, Save As, and I'm just going to save it to my desktop. Here, we can name it. And make sure you keep the Save As type as CSV. Excellent. Now that that's saved, we can close Excel, and we can click Import Template. From here, it's going to ask us for a little bit of information, so we can select the supplier. Snoopy's dog supplies. We can say which order guide we'd like to add it to, or we can say we want to add it to a new order guide, but we already have one for pet supplies. We can search for pet, and here it is. We can select the file that we want to upload by clicking Browse, and we can go to our desktop, right where we saved the file. I'm going to sort by date modified to find it. Let's see. Template upload, here it is. I'm going to click Open and Submit. Now it says your file was imported successfully. If there are errors, it will email you or send you a BirchStreet inbox notification saying there was a few errors, but it normally takes about 15 minutes to see all of the new items populate. If you're impatient, you can sit and click the refresh button a few times to see when it's done, but it normally takes about 15 minutes. So we're going to pause the video and we'll be right back. Alright, now our items have loaded. About 15 minutes has passed, and you can see everything that we have added is now in the list. I just clicked the refresh button again, and all of the items appeared. Now notice that the items that we set a target price for, and you can see we have a target price of, I believe it was $23 for this, so the item is the price is turned yellow in the square. If you want to see the target price, you can click the item, edit item, and you can see our target price of $23. For supplier on the flies, this is not that useful of a feature because you have to edit and maintain the order guide price yourself. For adopted suppliers that maintain their pricing for you, you can actually flag it so when you know you're going above your threshold of I really don't want to spend that much money. So when you log in and something is flagged yellow, you can see that it's a price change and the prices have been updated above your threshold of it's a little too expensive to buy again. So this is updating an order guide using the import and export template feature. The next couple things we have is we have a sort feature. So maybe now that we have 8 items, you want to sort. Here you can actually sort by maybe cat food and cat products and dog products. So for cats we'll do second. So we can do 2, item 3, and then this. Everything else looks like dog products. So we can do 1.1. And you can do decimals, and this will help if you need to insert stuff between. I'm going to do 1.6 and then 1.5, and so we'll hit the update button and the screen will refresh. It will save our sort items, and you'll notice that everything is now in the proper order, and our order is in descending number order. So that's sort items. If you want to add par values, you can have min-max, and you can add your minimum and maximum for your items here. Also, if you want to print this out maybe on a weekly basis or a monthly basis so that you can walk around and you can do your ordering from this. So maybe it's a produce order or something else. We can actually use a produce, let's look at this Monday produce order. Maybe we need to print this out and walk around. So what we can do is we actually have a print view button here. When we click it, it will ask you to open, and it will open in Excel. And from here, it is completely detached from BirchStreet. So anything you change here will not affect BirchStreet, but you can see you have all of your products, you have your suppliers, you have your units and measure and your list price. If you have min, max, and pack size, it will populate here. You have and also a sort order. Then it also gives you convenience of inventory quantities and order quantities if that's how you operate. If not, and you want to change some stuff around, this is Microsoft Excel. So you can do really whatever you like. So you can clean this up, you can format it however you want, you can delete rows, you can even take off all these borders if you'd like, and get rid of some borders. Oop. And then you have just a list of items. So this is a great feature to pull information out of BirchStreet. I like to use this in the kitchen for my daily orders, but it's up to you how you want to use the print view feature. The next topic we're going to cover is how to share an order guide. By default, when you create an order guide, only the person who created it can add or remove items from an order guide. But maybe you have a few chefs or a few coworkers that you'd like to help build that order guide and maintain that order guide. So we have a feature called List Editor. We're going to unhide our menu here at the top, go to Procurement, in List Editors. Here, this will show you a list of all of the purchase orders that you own. Once again, I own quite a few, but you can see here, I own the Jack's Meat House order guide. Now, if I want to share access and let other people add and delete and manage the order guide alongside myself, we can hit List Editors. All we have to do is select the Jack's Meat House, click Add Row, and then we can select who else at the property will be able to edit it. So we use the demo buyer, and click OK. We can hit Add Row and select maybe Ann Wynn in accounting, click OK, and we can just continue to add people that can help manage our order guide with us. Excellent. Once you've added them here, you must save, and the next time they log in, they will have access to editing the Jack's Meat House order guide. According to your region in the world, you may not have the list editor screen. However, the order guide sharing group functions much the same. Another useful feature in the main menu is the supplier on the fly screen. And according to who you are, you may or may not have access to the supplier on the fly screen, but somebody at your property will, either your purchasing manager or your director of finance or whoever your hotel admin is, will have a supplier on the fly screen. If we click on it, we can actually go into all of our suppliers on the fly, so we can actually search for a supplier. And maybe we need to edit the contact at Brian's Bike Shop. We can select it. You can see that Brian is the current attention person on the purchase orders, and he's the CEO. Maybe they've decided they want to change the email address from Brian to Order Desk. Whatever the change may be, we can make it here and click Save. Also in that screen, let's open it back up. If we have a supplier that we no longer want to use at the property, maybe we have a duplicate, as we do in Snoopy's. You can see we accidentally added Snoopy's dog supplies. Maybe we want to use Snoopy's pet supplies. Whatever the case may be, if you would like to get rid of a supplier on the fly, all you have to do is select it and click the delete button. Now, I do warn you, clicking the delete button, there is no way to bring this supplier back. So once we click delete and it asks, are you sure? And you click OK, Snoopy's dog supplies will not be able to be brought back from the dead. So if you notice here, we have supplier on the fly filter. If we switch it over to the recycle bin, you can see we've deleted Snoopy's dog supplies 3 times. I've had to add it for various training purposes, but we've deleted it 3 times. Excellent. So now we have Snoopy's pet supplies, and that's the one we're going to use. Now you may ask yourself, what happens to the items attached to a supplier on the fly within an order guide once it's deleted? After an overnight process, so it normally takes about 12 to 24 hours, you can see, if we go into, I believe, the donut order guide, you can see we have some red items. We'll hide our menu. If you notice here, it says red equals discontinued. It can be either a discontinued item from an adopted supplier, or it can be a supplier on the fly item that the supplier on the fly has been deleted, as in the case of Brian's Bakery. From here, if you need to use these items or attach them to a new supplier, we have a button for that. We can select these items and click the Change Supplier button. So it says click to update supplier ID for supplier on the fly items, and you can click multiple items. So from here we can change supplier, and then we can select supplier and see if we have another bakery. Maybe they're going to start coming from Bob's Bakery. We can select Bob's Bakery, click submit, and the items have been saved. And it's quick as that. You can see we're now attached to Bob's Bakery, and the items are back purple, which means they're non-catalog items, but they're ready to be ordered from Bob's Bakery. Now, if Bob's Bakery happens not to carry the chocolate-covered donut holes, or donuts, we can actually remove items from an order guide using the Remove button. Now remember, you can only remove items from order guides that you own or you've been added as a list editor, but it's that simple to remove an item. However, if there's items that someone else at the property has added to an order guide, but you would like in your order guide, we can go and find that, maybe in the Danish order guide. And you can see here from Chicago Bakery and Pennsylvania Bakery, we have some croissants and danishes. Maybe we want to add these to our order guide. We have a copy button that will allow you to copy these items into your order guide so that then you have a duplicate copy that you can edit and manage in your list. We have a button called Copy Item. It does just that. You copy item, you select I want to add it to my AAA donuts. It says it's been added, and then all we have to do is switch back to our order guide, and you can see all of our donuts are now in the same location. Let's now make our way over to the PO tab. What happens if we had created a supplier on the fly, added a bunch of items, and created a purchase order directly from the Create Non-Catalog Items button? Maybe we forgot to add them to the order guide. That's not a problem. All we have to do is find that purchase order, so Brian's Bike Shop purchase order, and we have two options. One, we can add directly to an order guide from the Add to OG button. It's very simple. You can click Add to OG. So let's see if we have maybe here's our bike share order. We can click Select, and it will add all of the items from the purchase order to an order guide. We can switch over to the order guide, and you can see all of the items from the Brian's Bike Shop have been added. And we have a few duplicates, so it might have already been here, but you get the concept. Maybe if we don't want to add all of the items to the order guide, maybe it's just one or two items, we can actually add that to a cart. So we have Add to Cart button. Now the cart is just a little bin for temporary holding items. So we add it to the cart, click Cart, and you can see all of the items that are on that purchase order from Brian's Bike Shop have been added, along with some other items that were already here. So from here, we can now add just the selected two items that we want to an order guide by clicking Add to Order Guide. Now the cart can also be used from an order guide, so let's go ahead and clear this out, and we can click Remove Item. Are you sure? Yes, we are. Then we'll start with the fresh cart. Maybe throughout the day, we go to an order guide and we realize we need to order some cookies. These cookies have been deactivated. There we go. So let's order some chicken, some danishes, and some black gadgets. And all we have to do is click Add to Cart. Processes, and they've been added. Here you can see we have 3 items totaling $362. Let's go find some other items that we might want to add to our cart. So maybe some flowers. Select the red roses, some daisies, and let's hit Add to Cart. We can even go into a catalog. So if we search for My Suppliers and go Excellent, go into the Excellent Hoteliers, and let's stick with the donut theme. These are bread dough, sourdoughs. We can use chocolate chip cookies. Maybe we need 2 of these, and we can add to our cart. So throughout the day, you can add to your cart from both order guides and catalogs. Once you're ready at the end of the day to create your orders, click on the cart, see all of your items. You can review your quantities, make sure you have exactly what you need, and then we can select all and hit Create PO from here. And it's the same header that we're all used to. Back on the PO tab, we have a few more items to talk about. Once a purchase order is generated, how do we know who is pending approval, the budget impact of how it's going to affect our budget, and a couple other things? We have buttons for all of these items. So if you notice here, this purchase order is in approval pending. So we can select the radio button next to it and go to the approval details button. This is the same as the bottom of the print with detail screen, which I'll show you in a minute. But you can see here we have our current date and time, the PO number, a little bit more information about the purchase order, and it's sitting with Ann Wynn in finance. It was sent to her on 8/25/16, and once she approves it, it'll do another date and time stamp, and then it'll do the time elapsed between the two. From here, we can close this, and you can also view this in the print with details screen. If you go print with details for the same purchase order, we can scroll to the bottom, and you can see we have both the budget impact and now we have the approval details. Just as we have a separate button for the approval details, we have one for the budget impact section as well. So if we close this, you can see budget impact here, and it populates just the budget impact for that one purchase order. If you're curious to who affected a purchase order in a certain way, we have a history button. So if we look at these receiving complete purchase orders, we actually can go to the history button here, and we can see every person that has affected the purchase order. So it looks like Alex Adkins on 8/12 went from the PO status of new to approval pending, and then it looks like Patricia went from approval pending to approved, and then a little bit later, so just about 3 seconds later here, you can see it went from approved to accepted by supplier. And then when it was received, Fred Smith came in and went from accepted by supplier to partially received on 8/15 at 15:50. And then about 5 minutes later, he received the second half. So it went about 5 minutes later there. You can see it went from partially received all the way to receiving complete. So you can see everyone whose hand has touched this throughout the process of the purchase order. Another extremely useful tool is for the batch print. So if you notice here, we have a button called batch print, and this allows us to print various batches of purchase orders. So if we click on the button, we get a filter screen that will let us select how we want to print, or which purchase orders we want to print. Most common is required delivery date, so you could say from today, and once again you can use T for today, and you can do maybe +1 for tomorrow, or you can use the lookups to select the actual date. And then from here, it will give us all purchase orders with the required delivery date of either today or tomorrow. You can also do a little bit larger, maybe for the week, but it is limited to a maximum of 50 purchase orders at a time. You can also see if you want to do required delivery date from and through this date and department maybe 60 for all of the food that's coming in. You can do that as well. But you can do many different combinations here to do a batch print. Once we click print, let's see if we have any purchase orders in that date range. We do. You can see here we have the first one is 6873, and as we scroll down, you can see the next one is right under it, and it just keeps going and going and going through all of the purchase orders within your criteria. Now when you do click the print button, there is a page break here, so it will separate and print on 2 separate pages, or 3 if the single purchase order needs an extra page. Now after a few years of using the system, the purchase order tab is going to fill up. So if we go to, let's see, we'll do all last 90 days POs, you can see that there's probably around 246 purchase orders. But in this property, there are a total of 6,906 purchase orders. So it's quite a few purchase orders to sift through if you're looking for something you've bought in the past. We have a couple different ways to do this. One, we highly recommend using a subject line that helps out. Maybe there is we can search the column of subject. Let's see if there was a PO for 4th of July, so we'll just do July, and we can search all POs. Let's see, I don't see anything for the 4th of July party. maybe there was one for Valentine's Day. Valentine's Day supplies. Excellent. So you can see here, this is the order from 2004 for Valentine's Day supplies. We actually have two orders here, one for about $1 million and one for about $4. So you can actually go back in time and see what did we order $1 million for Valentine's Day. So we can click print with details, and you can see it was Hershey chocolate bars. We bought 19,000 cases. It doesn't look like we had a budget back in 2004, and you can see Adam Moore was the purchasing supervisor, who is pending approval still. All right. So now maybe we're looking for Hershey's chocolate bars and we want to know the last time we purchased it. We can't really sort by a subject line or any of the line items here. We can do PO total if you know the total of the purchase order, or maybe it's a food purchase order, so you can do purchase type, maybe PO number if you have that. And you can search all POs, last 90 days, my last 90 days. There's quite a different variety. But this is all to find just the actual purchase order, not what was on the purchase order. So we have a feature. If we unhide the menu, we can go to Search View PO Line. From here we can select it, and what this allows us to do is search the line level detail of all of the purchase orders, all 6,906 purchase orders for Hershey's. So what we can do, if you know the item number, you can use it, but if instead we can actually search for the product name. Click Go, and it might take just a moment because there's quite a lot to search through. And there they are. You can see we've purchased a product with the name Hershey's 518 times. If you happen to know the supplier, we can narrow that down as well, and we'll show you that in a moment. But let's go ahead and grab this little bar in the middle, and we can drag it across, and you can see Hotel Food Service Supplies is the supplier for most of these. It looks like most of them were in 2004, but maybe we want to flip this over and we can sort by required delivery date by just clicking on the title. And it looks like 2003 was the first time on purchase order 962, or we can flip it over and see the most recent time, which looks like it's going to be 2014. If you want to see that most recent purchase order, you just go ahead and select the line item. You can see it populates over here with what was on the purchase order. The buyer name was Clark Cantor, and we have a button that will actually let us view the purchase order right from here. And you can see we have Hershey's bars. We got 24 cases at $14.79 a case. Was our last time we've purchased it. So this is a great feature for going back in history and seeing the last time or the first time you purchased something, how many times you purchased something. This is a great option. And once again, that is the PO View Line, Search View PO Line option. Now you may notice that some of these purchase orders are very old, and we want to clean them up. So how do we do that? So we have three different ways of cleaning purchase orders. The first way, and we're going to sort by, let's go to all last 90 days purchase orders. We're going to sort by PO status, because we have three statuses and three buttons that we need to use. And the first one's going to be new. So let's look at any purchase order. So we're looking at all purchase orders in the last 90 days. The status is new. We can click Go. And you can see all of these are still in the new status. We have 73, which we probably need to clean some of these up. So let's go ahead and use the Delete PO button for anything in new status. All we have to do is click Delete PO. It says, are you sure? We say yes. And it's going to move it to our recycle bin. So to find that purchase order, all you have to do is go into either My Recycle Bin or All Recycle Bin POs. But from here, the Delete PO button only works on purchase orders in the new status. Maybe we have a purchase order, it's in Approval Pending. So if we go to Approval Pending, you can see here, these are all approval pending. We can scroll down and see this purchase order was created about 4 months ago. So maybe we don't need it anymore from guest supply. So what we're going to do is, there's a button called PO Recall. Click PO Recall, and it's going to pull it out of the approval process and put it directly into our recycle bin. Alright, and next, what happens if a purchase order has already been accepted by a supplier, fax, email, CSV accepted, or fax failed, connection not made? All three of these are valid POs. All three of them can be received against, but maybe you've decided that once you've sent off the PO, you don't want the goods anymore. Maybe they're taking too long to deliver. Whatever the case is, we need to get rid of them out of it. We need to close the PO so it's not eating up your budget. So BirchStreet does not communicate out to a supplier when a purchase order is canceled. You must do that by a phone call, an email. It is a conversation outside of BirchStreet that allows you to talk to your supplier and say, hey guys, we sent you this purchase order, please cancel it. Is it too late? If they say, no problem, we're canceling your order, all you have to do is come in and hit the cancel PO button. Now, according to who you are, which property you work, I've said it 100 times, everything depends on which property you work. You may or may not have the cancel PO button. If not, check it with your either receiver or your purchasing team or your finance team. Those teams normally have the option to cancel a PO. Once again, all it is cancel PO, okay, and the order is gone. Now last but not least, we have two buttons to review. One is the property summary and the other is the checkbook. We'll start with the property summary, is the big picture of the property, and then we'll drill into the checkbook. So property summary is an overview of your entire property's finances. You can see the forecast or the budget for the month for the entire property. Now we know that we are in Hilton Hotels Chicago O'Hare. You can see our period is 2016-09, which is September of 2016. And your date format might be a little bit different in various regions of the world, but it will always tell you which period you're in. You can see your forecast, what's consumed out of your budget, anything that's approved but not sent to the supplier yet, available. So this is your forecast minus your consumed minus your approved is your available. You can see your approval pending. So this is all the purchase orders that are pending approval for the entire property. And then you can see any purchase order that's in the new status, as well as your theoretical balance. If everything in the approval pending gets approved and everything in the new gets approved, this is your theoretical ending balance. So this is your property-wide summary. Then we have a department by department summary. So you can see here 01 is rooms, their forecast, their consumed, their available, and so forth. All of the same columns as above. Now this is a great feature. So you can actually scroll through and you can see here's the health club's budget. They haven't spent any money yet. And as you scroll down, you can see the coffee shop has consumed a little bit of their budget. But everything looks pretty good. On the left-hand side, we actually have green arrows saying everything looks good. You also have a little triangle if something's less than 30% remaining. And then if there's less than 10% remaining, we have a little red X to warn us that that department is struggling with their budget this month. If you want to change your budget, you can use the look up here, and you can actually switch between budgeted months. But this is a high-level overview that doesn't necessarily help your department heads. Let's go ahead and click Close, and we're going to jump into the checkbook. Okay, so here you can see period is September of 2016, and we're actually in the rooms department, or division, or department. So from here you can see for all of rooms we have the forecast, we have consumed, approved, available, same exact columns, but then we have it broken down by each and every individual GL account. And as you can scroll through, you can see we've got $3 consumed here, $226 consumed here, we've got about $9,889 approval pending, and that is for TA commissions. And you can see everything's looking pretty good. Now, you might wonder what makes up this $9,000 of TA commissions. Well, it's a hyperlink, so all we have to do is click to find out. From here you can see everything it's affecting this GL account. So you can see the PO number if it's a PO, if it's an adjustment, whatever it may be, it will show up here. So you can see here we've got Frank's Deli for $7,500. Wonder what was on that PO. Once again, we can click into and drill down into the purchase order. We'll click on it, and you can see we've ordered about 1,100 pounds of salami. You can see the price per pound, and you can see the line item detail that is affecting the budget. You can see the purchase order by clicking print with details. You can see the history that we've already gone over. You can actually use buyer contact, which shows you a business card of who placed this order. So if you have questions, you can call Alex Adkins, and you have the phone, fax, email address, everything you need to know to get a hold of the person. You can look at the approval details, wondering who approved this, or if it has been approved. You can see Ann in Finance has approved it, and we're waiting on Pat to approve it a little bit further. From here, we can hit the back button twice, and it will take us back to our checkbook. Now, if you go into Consumed section, the salami was in the approval pending status, but if we go to the Consumed section, we can click on the leased labor for $226, and you can see the 3 items that are affecting the budget. We can click into the first one and see we've got things that have already been received, or it's been accepted by supplier. It's got the body lotion. Looks like we've got some bath towels and some hand towels. You can see the quantities, the price, extension, tax, discount, total, everything you need to know. And you can see even if it was allocated, maybe the total was $150, but this month it was only allocated for $25. We cover allocations in our hotel admin training, so stay tuned for that if you're curious about the allocations. But that is our checkbook. From here we can close out, and it will take us back to the PO tab. And this concludes our advanced buyer training. Thank you for sitting with me today. If you're looking for more trainings, they will be developed and uploaded very shortly. Thank you very much.